So the ratings are in for this week's episode of Impact Wrestling, and it's good news once again for the folks there at Impact, because Impact Wrestling has drawn its best ratings since December 8th. And of course, December 8th last year was, of course, the Kenny Omega AEW World Champion Impact Wrestling debut. So another strong rating and number for Impact Wrestling. This has been a trend that we've seen since that Kenny Omega debut in 2020. Now, this week's episode of Impact Wrestling drew the show's best ratings in more than 2 months. Impact averaged 197,000 live viewers on AXS TV on Tuesday night. This, of course, was up from the 153,000 viewers on last week's episode. The rating in the 18 to 49 demographic was a 0.06. Last week's Impact drew a 0.04 rating in the key demographic. The overall viewership and rating in the key demo were both the best numbers for Impact Wrestling since December 8th episode on AXS TV, of course, which was the episode where Kenny Omega made his first appearance for Impact Wrestling. This Tuesday's Impact ranked 117 on the night on cable television in the 18 to 49 demographic. Last week's episode was ranked 129th. Of course, this week's episode of Impact featured the fallout from Saturday's No Surrender Impact Plus special, along with an appearance from New Japan Pro Wrestling's Juice Robinson and David Finlay. Robinson and Finlay coming to Impact was announced at the end of No Surrender. They were in action on Tuesday's episode, defeating Reno Scum. Robinson and Finlay then had a confrontation with Impact World Tag Team Champions Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. So there's a lot to look at there, but as I've mentioned before, and I'll mention this all the time when I talk about ratings, and I know it gets a little bit repetitive and all that kind of stuff, but it is always worth mentioning that ratings in 2021, viewership in 2021, is it important? Yes, it is still important. It will always be important until the medium of television no longer exists. Is it as important in 2021 as it was in 1999? Absolutely not. There are far other ways to watch and consume content in the modern day viewing experience, whether it's watching it on social media, just watching the clips on social media, watching the highlights on YouTube the following day, watching on demand, DVRing it and watching it later after the fact. In fact, to be honest, very rarely nowadays do people really tune in live to watch anything, unless it's, sports or a major television event like on cable news or something like that. There are far different ways to consume content now, which means, of course, that ratings aren't as important, but they certainly do tell a story. They don't tell the entirety of the picture, but they do tell a snapshot. So that's why we talk about ratings, especially the Impact Wrestling ratings here on the channel every week. So fantastic news, really, considering that the Kenny Omega debut episode back on December 8th, when that happened, we did a video here, and I spoke about it at the time, saying, can Impact capitalize on this? Can they go higher and higher? Well, obviously nothing's beat it since, so the answer there would be, at the moment, no. But I mentioned at the time that this was a really good opportunity for Impact Wrestling to keep that number up. Now, obviously, I think, frankly, with the December 8th episode, the issue was then is that they were going into the end of the year, and you had 2 best-of episodes, which always, historically, just because of the time of year they are, but also because they're not really original content, draw terribly, and that was the situation there. You had from December 8th of 221,000 live viewers on AXS TV, you went to 100,000 nearly on December 29 and 133,000 on December 22. But in 2021, a little bit of a slow start coming out of the gates, but after Hard to Kill, when it had a low number as well, once we started to have these appearances once again, whether it was Matt Hardy, Private Party, Tony Khan, Jerry Lynn, or now New Japan's Finn Juice, there certainly has been an uptake once again. Now, obviously, I know people will respond to this and say, why are you even talking about it? 197,000 live viewers on AXS TV. You've got Monday Night Raw that gets 1.8 million live viewers. SmackDown does over 2 million viewers at the moment. AEW nearly does 1 million, whereas NXT does 700,000, stuff like that. So why are we talking about Impact Wrestling? Well, the good thing is, I suppose, when it comes to these smaller numbers, you really can see the minute changes and the effects that people have. And it goes to show that when I spoke about this previously here on the channel, I spoke about Finn Juice coming in. I said, is it going to beat the Kenny Omega episode in terms of viewership and ratings? No, but what is really interesting is that this is working. This is absolutely working. Not only is this the best viewers overall that have tuned in on AXS TV since the Kenny Omega episode, but it's also the best rating in the key demographic. And the key demographic, of course, is so important because that's what advertisers and television executives look towards. They look towards that key demographic because if it's strong, they'll advertise on the program. We've got to a point now in television where obviously viewership is important, and we do talk about it here, but if anything, the rating is more important. That's why AEW AEW loves to flaunt it every time they have a great rating too. So it goes to show that this New Japan relationship, this AEW relationship that Impact Wrestling utilizing, are doing really well. Now, are we ever going to get back to the point that Impact Wrestling is doing 1.5 million live viewers like they were doing on Spike TV, or even 2 million viewers like they were doing on Spike TV in the mid-2000s? No, not on AXS TV. That's just the plain, cold, hard facts of it all there. That AXS TV, the irony being in its name of having access, is that there isn't a lot of access to it. A lot of people don't have AXS TV on their cable systems. A lot of people can't find it, and look, that is what it is. I don't suspect Impact Wrestling is going to move from AXS TV any point soon, because Anthem, the company that owns Impact Wrestling, also owns AXS TV. They own the cable network, so they're not moving anytime soon. What is interesting, and if you have this information, you can let me know in the comment section below, would be the Twitch numbers once again. Because when Kenny Omega made his debut appearance in December of last year, the Twitch numbers, which again aren't even close to the numbers tuning in on AXS TV, they quadrupled though. We were looking at a significant interest from people on Twitch. Was it 50,000 or something like that at the time? I can't recall off the top of my head, but it was a significant uptake, and I would assume it's probably the same situation here. So it's positive numbers for Impact, it really is. And these numbers are... I mentioned this before, this is really the critical thing I think here. These numbers are pre-pandemic numbers. Now, obviously, Kenny Omega's debut, that was the record set on AXS TV. It was the most viewers that have ever tuned in for an episode of Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. But since then, of course, factor out those two best of episodes, they were doing roughly what they were doing prior to the pandemic. Now, why is that significant? Well, because television in general isn't doing what it was doing prior to the pandemic. Viewership across all forms of entertainment, if it's not cable news or sports, I think it might even be the case with sports still, viewing figures are down. And that's because, of course, we're in the current climate we are right now. People are penny pinching, people are hurt in the pocket, and maybe they can't afford their cable system, or maybe it's not financially viable to have a cable system, or whatever. They're cutting the cord when it comes to cable because, frankly, they've realized that, one, they don't really need it anymore. And again, this goes back to the discussion about how you consume content in 2021. It's great to have a cable system, it's great to have satellite or whatever to watch your favorite programs on television. Is it a necessity at this point? Arguably no. Anything you want to watch, you can probably watch online. Now, there are obviously various legal ramifications to that, or you can watch it on demand after the fact. Everything eventually goes online, and it's a cheaper option. So the fact that Impact Wrestling are doing numbers that they were doing prior to the pandemic is a real significant win for Impact Wrestling. It really is. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, Finn Juice won this week's episode of Impact Wrestling, and it looks like going forward we're going to have either an AEW wrestler or a New Japan team wrestler, whatever you want to call them, on episodes of Impact Wrestling. And it's working. The viewership figures are up. The rating is up, especially when you have this AEW influence, because they do have a significantly younger audience than, say, a WWE or even Impact Wrestling in the past, a bigger audience as well, obviously. So it goes to show that this is working. Now, next week, are we going to see the same number or a bigger number? I would say it's unlikely, and I'll tell you why I would say it's unlikely is because we have seen now what works for Impact Wrestling. What works for Impact Wrestling is getting these outside-of-the-box ideas, whether it's Kenny Omega, Private Party, or Finn Juice in this case. But what really works is the advertisement, is the promotion side of things. When you had the end of that Winter is Coming special edition of Dynamite in December, when you had Don Callis say to people on TNT at the end of that show, Kenny Omega, the new AEW World Champion, he's going to be on Impact Wrestling on Tuesday night on AXS TV. That drove viewers to Impact Wrestling on Tuesday night. Conversely, when you had Matt Hardy and Private Party, when they made their surprising non-announced debuts on the show, or Matt Hardy's return, but it was non-announced, no one knew that it was coming, it was a surprise. That week, the viewership number was down, 147,000 live viewers. The following week, when the promotion of that surprise appearance kicked in, we had a massive uptake in numbers when we saw 186,000 live viewers tune into AXS TV. Now, compare it to this week. Of course, going into No Surrender, on the February 9th episode of Impact Wrestling, there wasn't really much hype or things that was announced to happen the following week, that week rather, and it was 153,000 live viewers. not that special. Coming out of No Surrender, what did we have from Saturday to Tuesday? We had a bunch of promotion, a bunch of hype about Finn Juice coming to Impact Wrestling on Tuesday. It was everywhere. It was all over social media. There were advertisements. New Japan were promoting it as well. So we've seen at this point, it's a crazy idea, right? No, because it's always worked. But what is really working for Impact Wrestling, of course, is this crossover, but the promotion that comes with it. Whenever anything's hyped up, whenever anything gets a lot of coverage, people tune in. We've seen it with Kenny Omega, we've seen it with Finn Juice, and we've seen the opposite effect when things weren't promoted when it comes to Matt Hardy and Private Party. Now, the following week, of course, it had the big spike in viewership, but that week when they made their debuts, it wasn't announced, so people didn't tune in. I think Impact Wrestling now, they've seen the pattern, and I think the fans have seen the pattern now that what do they want to get out of this relationship when it comes to New Japan and AEW? They want fans to watch their product. That's what they want. They want coverage. I think, and I've been saying this for a while, forget having Tony Khan having his paid ads on Impact Wrestling because they don't need to promote AEW, and frankly, they're not for that reason. But what Impact Wrestling, I think, need to look for coming out of these relationships with AEW and New Japan, rather, is that, okay, we're happy to have the crossover, we're happy to have our talent appear on your shows, whether it's, the Good Brothers appearing on Dynamite, or, again, the Good Brothers, or Chris Bay, or Ace Austin, whatever, appearing for New Japan. We're happy to have that. What we want is obviously some talent in exchange, but most importantly, we want the promotion. We want you to tell your fans to tune into Impact Wrestling Tuesday nights on AXS TV. That is what is working for us. So I think what Impact are doing right now, they need to continue doing. It's obviously working. The fact that they've got these pre-pandemic numbers is a big thumbs up. How do they improve it? How do they even possibly get higher than the Kenny Omega debut appearance? Promotion. That's what they want. That's what they need. So if I'm Don Callis, if I'm Scott D'Amore from Ed Nordholm, I'm saying to Tony Khan at AEW, I'm saying, look, obviously we love this relationship. It is mutually beneficial. You're using our talent. We're using your talent. Just one spot per week on Dynamite, on TNT, if you can say, tune into Impact Wrestling Tuesday night on AXS TV, or if we can have a bit like your paid promos, if we can have Scott D'Amore or Don Callis or any Impact Wrestling talent, if we can have them on camera in a pre-taped vignette or promo for 30 seconds to say, stuff about AEW, or just the point being, the message being, tune into Impact Wrestling on Tuesday nights on AXS TV, that is significant. That would be significant, because we've seen at this point, the pattern is that would work. That will work. So do I expect it to be higher next week? I would be surprised. Again, looking at patterns here, and that's what you've got to try and look at for ratings. Kenny Omega's debut in December got 221,000 live viewers. The following week got 177,000 live viewers. Kenny Omega was on both shows. What was the difference there was the amount of hype, the amount of advertisement that first episode got. Now, obviously, it was announced that Kenny Omega was going to be on the second show, but at that point, it had been done, and it didn't get as much anywhere near the publicity and promotion that first appearance did. So that's what Impact Wrestling needs. They need promotion. I think that's the key here. Now, are they going to get that from AEW or New Japan? At the moment, they haven't been, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. And as we head closer and closer to April's Impact Rebellion event, again, it's a possibility we'll get a lot of promotion, because I think big things are going to happen. So it's a very exciting time to be a fan of Impact Wrestling, and it looks like there's a significant uptick in the ratings. And even as I said, they don't tell the full story anymore, they just tell a snapshot. It certainly is significant for Impact Wrestling. But of course, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the Impact Wrestling ratings this week, drawing the best viewership and rating since Kenny Omega's debut appearance in December of 2020? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, New Japan, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved with the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.